hello, and thank you, each and every one of you for joining me today. I'm very, very grateful to have you here. I had a few technical difficulties to get us started, but I'm excited to have each and every one of you here. I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction for each of you while you're on. But firstly, just want to let those that know that are watching this probably for the first time, if they may have never seen me before, my name is Coach V, and I am the president and owner of Walking for Talking, which is a movement of spirit, soul, and body. Also founded by 1 Thessalonians 5:23. Please take the time to read that lovely scripture. And also just, we have three core principles, and that is to believe, move, grow. Who are you believing in? What are you believing for? And also, what steps are you taking to move, like Lamar is in the background here? And also, what are you doing to grow? So for each of you all today, I have some of my favorite people are on today. And these are the folks that I know and love dearly. They do a myriad of things. And we're going to talk about life today and some transition stories and how you can get through things that are absolutely life worthy. I don't know about y'all, but life been lifing up here in these streets. And so I'd like to take this opportunity to speak to each of you about some things. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to just have everybody, after the introductions are made, just kind of tell your transition story. Tell the audience what brought you here today, why you're here talking to me, what you'd like to share. But first, let me do some introductions. We have Wynn, my lovely marketing partner who I love dearly, Christian business owner of Tussle Marketing, where she makes sure your hustle is not your marketing hassle. So she is thebomb.com, Christian owner of business. I love it. Then I have my lovely, lovely man, Mike, here. Again, for those that do not know, Mike is the newly minted manager at the Museum of the American Revolution in Philly, where he literally makes history come to life. So we're happy to have Mike here with us. And then we have Lorin, my sister friend, and I love her. She's a podcaster, Christian and Black female pilot under the age of 35, loving every minute of what it is that she does. And then Lamar, my friend and founder of, several Christian businesses. We've got, Playful Arts, Eden Art. We've now got a new brand called Ugly Buddy that's coming to a store near you. Also one of our partners on, as you can see, that's what I'm saying, shameless plug, put it out there. He's also one of the partners on my website. So we are going to get here and talk a little bit about a number of things. And so I'd like to just have each of you basically tell your transition story. What's happened recently in your life that's been a great transition? And I think to start it off, I'm going to pick Wynn. Wynn, why don't you share with the audience your transition story, what happened, and where you are today.
Sure. So I met Coach V. Actually, Lorin and I were doing a podcast together. And Lorin, I think somehow you knew her. I don't, maybe church, something, but she was a guest. And we were on the podcast together. We were just talking about different things, right? Coach V came in as a life coach expert, just some of the mindset things that, again, not that I was coming for myself to deal with, but just to talk about them generally. And I remember that particular podcast just because I would say things that I would never say today, just things that I would maybe put myself down and I'm a loser. I can't believe I do this. Just things like that Coach V, right? These are in her world, red flags. I'm over here saying a bunch of red flags, but I'm over here everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is good. But the words that were coming out of my mouth didn't necessarily reflect that. And in that time too, I had a lot going on. I'm also under the age of 35. Lorin and I both turned 34 in July. If you can't tell Lorin, I'm gonna keep using her name because she's my bestie. Yeah, she's my bestie. But that aside, that's not why we're here. I just had a lot of different things going on. And actually Lorin was like, I think you should just go, I don't know, talk to Coach V, because I feel like there's some things there. And, a little bit of the transition, I had just finished a several months of counseling, just dealing with different things. I, transitioned from almost like a loss of a job. And so it was a big life-changing event, a change of lifestyle for my family. In counseling, I was dealing with some things that I went initially for marriage counseling, and it turned out, there's some childhood trauma that you need to deal with. So that was kind of like an ouch. And I left it. I didn't know, while I recognized the things that happened or things that maybe triggered me or things that were going on, I didn't necessarily have the tools to adequately deal with it. So I kind of felt like I have all this information, but I don't know what to do with it. And so now, 34, I have these tools, and it's not like everything's sunshine and rainbows, but definitely through your guidance, Coach V, I'm able to say that and feel good about it and know that, even, this has been several years in the making, but there's always like a place to like jump off from, right? It's not, again, everything's not sunshine and rainbows, but I have tools in my tool belt that I can use and I can feel good about and work through it instead of just being like this whirlwind of chaos. So I don't know if that's a good transition, but that is a little bit about me, and I'm excited to be here.
Oh, that is fantastic. Thank you. No, another thing about Wynn, you may not know, she's married and she has, let's see, Lorin, Jude, and
three
we
kids.
got 3 children, beautiful children, and she's a business owner full time. You know what I mean? So we'll talk a little bit about what it's like to be a business owner, a Christian business owner, the things you have to do, how you have to transition through their process, still be a mom, still be a family member and responsible citizen. So we'll talk a little bit about that transition too. So now I'm going to move on over to, let's see, Mike. Mike, talk to me about your transition, what you had going on.
Well, in 2018, my mom passed while I was taking a full course load as a non-traditional student at good old Temple University in Philadelphia. It happened very suddenly. My wife, Abby, was pregnant with our first son, Jabari, and he wasn't here yet. So she passed in February of 2018, and I think it was like the most bittersweet time because the Eagles had just won a Super Bowl, and it's like everything was going great. And then my mom was dealing with a bad cold. That's what we thought, and it got worse, and she ended up having double pneumonia, and it like really suddenly. So I didn't process that very well. It was a lot to take on, but I had schoolwork and a child coming. So I kind of pushed that all down and didn't really take the time to process. So then what happens a couple of years later? Well, we have a global pandemic and I go from 4 jobs to 0. And my wife and I are 2 people who, we're out and about and engaging in our respective careers. And as a history person, history is very challenging if you don't have an outlet. And when you're just kind of stuck in your head, it's not a great place to be all the time. So I went through a breakdown. I had the George Floyd in particular moment really set me back in ways that I didn't even realize. So I just really was crying out in so many ways. My body was basically having a mental, and it's funny to hear Wynn say what she said about, trauma that creeps up. That's what happened. It all kind of came to the surface. Found myself institutionalized. And Bakisha was one of the people who was working with my wife, Abby, to say, hey, this isn't your husband. He's really going through something. He's having, a mental health crisis. And we need to make sure that we get him and be diligent about getting him the help that he needed. And I went through that process. Therapy has been amazing, but therapy with the Lord is a whole different thing. And then you need, there were so many things I had been pushing away. So finally getting the process to just being still a little bit more and having the right outlet. I have an amazing therapist. Things have opened up in so many ways for me. Professionally, I started working at the Museum of the American Revolution, started as a floor associate, what we call VEA. Next thing you know, I move up to a program that I didn't think I was even qualified for, African American Interpretive Fellow. And God has been like, hey, don't say, you saying no is useless. You have to keep pushing and doing things that might not be always the most comfortable for you, but you realize I've given you a set of skills. I need you to project this. This is more than you. And that's what I have found is the biggest thing for me, is that I'm a vessel. I am not the be all end all. I don't have to create everything. I don't have to put all that pressure on myself. And I started to understand it's about a frequency and getting into that right frequency with the Lord and understanding that your life will be able to be stable, because you doesn't mean easy, stable and easy, but it's the stability helps me to steady myself, so I don't feel like I have to tackle all these things on my own. So that outlet has been an amazing aspect, and be able to find a church that now our two kids, Jalen and Jabari, our pastor says, your 5-month-old has been here more than a lot of other people. So it's like just kind of understanding. It's like I've seen him more than I've seen people who I know supposed to be here. So that just tells me we've been kind of pushing through this in a way that has been amazing. So that's my story for now.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mike. And, it's a pleasure to work with you as well as with, Abby. And, trust me, audience, not everybody on this, this stage and this platform has been coached by thee, but, I'm glad to have two people that I care about greatly, that I've seen make tremendous strides, continue to make things grow and believe in the God that we love and serve, and also doing the movement to make it happen. So I'm just really happy to have each of you here. So now I'm going to swing in and I'm going to ask my sister friend, Lorin, tell us what's your transition story? What you got going on?
So I think the biggest thing for me recently, well, and maybe not recently, it's been probably a decade worth of work, is that, so I grew up very much the traditional like church girl, right? Like I was like the protege of what you want in like the church girl, right? And just reveled in that, I guess. Like that was my identity. And so when I was an adult, 18, 19, got married, and got married probably around 1920, and that did not work out. And so for someone who was such, at that point, like I thought that like faith was everything, to be a believer, and to have your marriage not work out kind of made me feel like God did me dirty. And so, I turned away, and not to the extent of being like, oh, there is no God, or, anything like that, but more so just along the lines of, all right, I'm putting you on ice. Like we putting you behind the door in the freezer. Maybe we'll return in 3 to 6 months. We'll check the expiration date. And of course that turned into a couple of years. And I think people would ask me, what I was doing spiritually, and I just avoid the answer or not answer. And life has a way of affecting you when you aren't in communication and in connection with God. And so I feel like there was quite a few years there where I was just not spiraling in my definition of the word. I just was all over the place. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was chasing one thing, working tremendously hard because I put my faith and effort into myself, into figuring out how do I make things happen, like on my own accord, instead of like, hey God, what do you want me to do? Let me pray about this. Let me sit and wait. Let me figure it out with you, and see what you want me to do. And so really transitioning from this period of like being a very, very big, I'll call it old school believer, to like not really having a relationship with God and kind of trying to figure it out on my own. And then hitting a low, which happened to be me falling off into the deep, dark areas of depression, moved to California, and just lost my way ultimately. And so what do? You fall back. You go, all right, God, I think it's time for us to figure some things out. Like, I've been doing this without you and it's not working. And when I was doing it with you, at least it was working, So transitioning back into being more in connection with God. And though it may look different now because my relationship is deeper, I feel like, and it's not so much just for show, or because it's what other people told us our relationship with God is supposed to look like. And did you check the boxes? And are you, quote unquote, living your life the way we've said that you're supposed to live your life? But to really be in deep connection with God and to be able to say, okay, because you're speaking to me and I'm following your word and I'm sitting and I'm listening and I'm moving when you tell me to move. And so transitioning to that is just like, I ended up quitting my job and, doing flight training. And I'm pretty much like the happiest and in the best peaceful, state that I've been in 34 years. And again, like everyone has said, every day is not rainbows and butterflies. I think social media has a very toxic way of showing that whatever we post, it means that everything in our life is going great, and it doesn't. But overall, like it's a very, very good season for me because I've transitioned back into knowing God and cultivating my own personal connection with him and being able to live my life the way that he's asked me to live it.
Well, if that ain't the truth, one of the things that kills me is that people swear up and down that Christians don't struggle with depression or with a question of faith. And it's like, we probably struggle more than most actually do. But
listen,
what I love,
if y'all can hear my conversations with, look, Jesus be like, Dad, she don't mean that. Let me talk to her first before you, like, hold on, wait a minute. Okay.
Let us thank God we have a go-between. Amen. But
Amen.
The good thing about this group is the fact that I know that this is not the doom and gloom cycle. No one on here is the whole, oh Lord type of personality, which is why I am so excited to let y'all hear from Lamar, because, one thing I know about Lamar is you are not going to talk doom and gloom about nothing around him, and especially not when it comes down to you being a Christian and you better know better. So with that being said, Lamar, what's your story? Share with us what you got going on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm gonna do my best, you know what I mean? Because she pretty much summed it up. I'm not a gloom and doom person at all. But listening to you guys, I think, spiritually, I think I'm in transition. And I think a lot of me not allowing the hurt to sit on me has made me a certain kind of way. Because, like for me, we go through things and I'm the type, I don't allow things to get to me. But when you really look at it overall, I found out certain behaviors that I picked up through certain adversities did get to me. And because I wouldn't allow it to hurt, that makes sense. So I'm the type, if something tragedy happened to me or something crazy happened, even though that's life, I just say it's life. And I don't realize at the same time, one thing about Coach V, she's taught me a lot in just allowing certain things to take place. I'm the type, well, that's life, get up. It happens, everybody get up, stop crying, get up. And then sometime I find myself months later, excessively drinking. Like I had a real bad drinking problem, you know what I mean? And so.
This one.
So, no, it was worse than that. That's my first one. So,
out of pocket.
So no, seriously, I would say, it don't bother me, man. I'm good. No, whatever. That don't bother me. And then I'm 5 drinks into it in a club or somewhere I shouldn't be. This had happened. Oh man, I'm good. That's life. That's life, man. I'm all right. And then I'm 5 more drinks into a club. I'm somewhere I shouldn't be. Now I come to realize in maturity that I was bothered. I was just dealing with it in another way. I was just handling it where when you look at my face, and I'm talking about the Lord because I love the Lord, I'm big on faith. And, I'm the type of person that would talk Jesus before you talk Jesus and finish talking Jesus, faith, because I know once the camera's off me and those demons and those feelings and that hurt and that pain comes, and you guys can all testify to this. Sometimes you're just so exhausted to you want to give up. So when I get the opportunity to talk to another believer or somebody like me, it's like I almost get on the team and I just root faith. I just root on believing and trusting in God, because I know when I'm by myself and those demons visited me, I don't know what it is for you, but I know they visit me. Some old things visit me. Sometimes I ain't strong enough. So I need someone to call and say, hey, how you doing? And then immediately I start speaking faith, because when the man get in his head, for me, I know all of us got an expiration date, and I feel like I'm not doing enough. I haven't seen enough. I haven't said enough. I haven't loved enough. I haven't lived enough. And when that stuff started messing with my head, it started to play on my conscious and my subconscious. And then I go back to old ways. And I'm learning now at 44 years old that I'm learning to deal with the pain, isolate myself, sit in it, allow it to take place, and move on. Because what happened was when I didn't allow it to take place, it still was with me 10 years later. You know what I mean? I found myself in places because of that. So now that I really move on, I just pretty much put it on the shelf that was still revisiting me every day. So now I'm like, okay, Lord, for instance, Keisha I just lost my sister, my best friend, and she was 45, and it'll be a year, the end of this month. I think like August, I don't know. I try not to remember, but it'll be a year. And I can go every day and say I'm fine, but like I told her before, I say I can't lie to myself. I can lie to you, but I haven't been fine over a year. And now I'm to the point where I'm like, okay, Lord, just allow it to hurt, because if I don't allow it to hurt, I'm gonna fool myself, and I'm gonna find myself again doing things that's going to take me farther and farther away from my purpose and my destination and where I need to be another 5 years from now, if God allows that. Because what Satan does is, he takes some of the strongest of us and he play on us. And we think we've moved on, and actually we haven't. And when we're supposed to get to that next level and get to that breakthrough, it revisits us and it takes us 10 years back. We thought we got 10 years ahead, but because we didn't deal with it, we didn't let God heal us from it, he plays on it. And that's something I'm learning right now, that I need to deal with that. I need to deal with all the things, all the adversity, all the things I went through, because I know that there's an expiration date on every human being, and I don't want that to visit me when I'm at my highest point of being the person God has called me to be, and bam, there it goes, because I didn't deal with it. So I'm to the point now, I'm trying to be where I'm not just putting stuff on the shelf. If I'm bothered, I'm bothered. If I'm hurt, I'm hurt. If I need prayer, pray for me. If I need counseling, if I need a coach or, I heard the gentleman say, Mike, I believe, say he had a counselor. Like, I'm the guy saying, I don't need that. But it gets to the point sometime, man, you know what? And I know coach be like, wow, he's talking different. But, I just want to tell the truth. Like, sometimes you need those things, because without those things, Satan will play on you, man, and he'll visit you in a time where you think you beat him, and he will take you back. So that's my story. Pray for me that I, can wear a smile, but also when it's a frown, I can wear the frown.
Boy, y'all done said some stuff here. Now I'm sitting over here like, dang, y'all, right? Thank you, Lamar. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Lorin. Thank you, Wynn. And then this one back here. I like to thank you, because if y'all know anything about this bunch is ridiculously private. I mean, like, ridiculously. And the fact that all of them are here on this platform sharing their stories with you is monumental. And they doing it because they really like me. So I thank each and every one of you for sharing. But now that we have talked about the transition, we have said what it was that we have struggled with and struggle with, you know what I mean? Actually, I'm gonna give my friend a shout out here, because the reason why Walking for Talking was even born was years ago, after having first met Lamar at a wedding of his nephew and my sister friend. You know, we talked for a bit, we were cutting up, him and his sister and I, and one day he gave me a call, and when he called me, I was sitting in a hoodie. Now, the ladies might realize what a hoodie represents. If you ever catch a lady in a hoodie in the bed, under a blanket, baby, it is real, okay? It is sad, we is about to cry if we have not. And I was sitting in the dark, and like he called me and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, well, you know, I'm just so sad." He was like, "What?" And when I tell you, this man just ripped me a new one, didn't hold no punches, just was like, "Who are you?" The person I met, "You powerful. I don't know what this is. This is not you better fix it, like pull yourself together." And so you'll notice a lot of my clothing has hoodies on it. And it's a representation of me remembering where I came from sitting in the dark in a hoodie, because we all have hoodie places and hoodie spaces. And, you know, because I had a friend that cared enough to see the power of thee before I could see the power of thee, is the reason why Walking for Talking was even born, right? So as you all begin to hear these folks' stories on this platform, I hope you'll recognize that sometimes your rebirth is out of pain or out of transition. So now we're going to get into the second half, and we're just going to talk about, like, how did you believe, right? How did you move? And how did you grow through your transition? And I'm gonna tell y'all right now, we all believe in who we need to believe in, right? We believe in God, we believe in Christ, we believe in him. So we know who we believe in. But like, what are you believing for? Or what were you believing for in your transition? What steps did you put in place to, you know, move into the next area of your life? And then what did you grow from? Like, and what would you tell somebody listening to this platform and say, you know, what do I need to hear to move past my transition? How would you tell them and give them, you know, pieces to grow? So Lorin, I'm gonna pick on you first for this one. How did you believe move grow through this?
I think so. On to your point, we already believe, and like I already said, like in my lowest moment, I'm a very logical person. Logic. If 2 + 2 don't equal 4, it's not working for me. And in like the darkness of being depressed and overworking myself and being out of this, like recognizing that this relationship that was supposed to be forever is not forever, it was actually very traumatic and over. The logic part said, okay, well, if there's a God that I believe in, and his son Jesus was able to come here and live life on earth every day and do these miracles and walk with these sinners in order to cultivate this space where we're able, in all of our mess of being a human, are still able to be saved, then why am I sitting here in despair after everything I've done and after everything that's been done to me? Why am I so upset about it? And there was a lot of help from Keisha. There's a lot of help from Wynn. There's a lot of help from, you know, a team of people to like help me rationalize this stuff out. But at the end of the day, right, my belief in knowing who I am and whose I am allowed me to kind of pick up and like at least take a step. And, you know, one day it may only been 1 or 2 steps, and other days it may have been a whole job. But that's kind of how I believed through it. And sometimes, and like, again, it initially was not my belief. It was everyone else's, right? Because your community is everything. And so, you know, the folks that I've surrounded myself around that saw the signs when I finally was honest enough to say what was happening, or because I didn't answer the phone long enough and they were worried about what the heck was going on, they were able to pour in through their faith and their belief to re-encourage me in mine, right? And then you said, how did I move through the transition? So after after like the catalyst of my breakdown, I was actually invited to a retreat in Colorado with my aunt and uncle. And we walked, hiked. I do not hike. I do not run. But boy, they had me hiking and walking and running. And I really think that there is something cleansing about moving, right? And being in nature and being able to be in silence by yourself with God and doing something as strenuous as hiking, when the only thing you could do is drink water, eat a snack, and pray that you're gonna make it back to your car, right? So, like I was able to really like cry it out and like talk to God and yell and like have these conversations about how I felt, to be able to get out of that circumstance. And so after that retreat, I feel like it just was like balls to the wall, like I just one thing, like I said what I wanted. I wanted a different atmosphere and I wanted to be a different person, because at the time I really was not all that nice.
No.
I was I was not nice. I was borderline bitch, not gonna lie to you. And when you have people that love you, that are able to say that to you in a way that doesn't completely deflate your energy, and you love them, you want to figure out how to be better. And, for me, my whole thing is like, God has given me so many opportunities and he's allowed me to do so many things. And my biggest purpose in life is to be able to open doors for other people to do the things that they want to do. And so how can I be at the door? It's like going to church and the greeter at the church is being mean. You don't want to go in there. You want to go home, right? So that was me. I was the mean greeter. And so my biggest thing was, how do I change myself, internal talk, and myself, like, how do I reflect who God is? How do I be more like Jesus on a day-to-day basis? And when I focused in on that, my relationships changed and the opportunities that were given to me changed. And then I was able to actually understand the things that I was supposed to do and which decisions I was supposed to choose, because people were actually being nice to me because I was being nice to people, right? And so, I took a discovery flight, which is like they take you up in the air and they show you how to fly. And the moment I left the ground, I knew that was what I was supposed to do. And I've been hanging on it. Folks had talked about it. And I was being stubborn and mean-spirited about it. Like, no, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. I was supposed to do this engineering thing. No, this is what I was supposed to do. And, and in Colorado, I said, well, what do I have to lose? Like I'm already I've done the thing that I thought everybody told me I was supposed to do, and it's not working out. So what if I do the thing that everybody says I shouldn't do, or that's crazy, right? You can die in an instant if the airplane doesn't do what it's supposed to do, right? Why don't I just go try it and see what happens? And the moment we took off that ground, like I was a completely changed person. It was like, I think it was very similar to like the moment you realize that like you're saved. It's like an aha moment,
Purpose.
It's like, yeah, purpose, born again, restructured, all that good stuff. And then, the whole growth part, I'm still growing. The Keisha and I just like, she calls it the 6-month check-in. She's like, I don't ever hear from Lorin unless something is going down. And I think, the last time or two that we've had our check-in, it's been slightly different. And the last time we chatted, she said, you're talking and thinking like a Lorin I've never known before, and it is because, one, I'm walking in my purpose, and 2, I'm doing the work, and it's not easy. We talk about battling the stuff from our past. I've had to go back and have conversations with people, and I'm like, so remember that time when I did and I did, I'm sorry, I didn't really mean it, but it's been very, very good for me, and I've been working on again, how do I show up as Jesus anywhere that I am? Because I am now in spaces where there aren't believers, and you can't walk in with your, Bible in one hand saying, oh, here, come be like me, or here, come believe in this God that I believe in. 9 times out of 10, you don't have that much time. And so for me, it's my attitude and my posture. And so I have to work on, how do I, every day, regardless of whatever mood I'm in, how do I share the light? The same way that Jesus did. And I be rereading all of his stories, because I'm like, okay, he had this run in with so and so. What did he do? And of course, I'm sure I make up my own answers, but that's for me and him to figure out later. But it works, And so, I've really tried to do the work, journaling and talking to folks, and therapy, and just walking in it every single day, regardless of how good the day is or how bad the day is, to really just keep moving in the purpose that I know that he's put on my heart.
I'm hearing, like, come on, can we talk about Jesus in therapy? Hashtag Jesus in therapy. Come on. Speaking of, okay, Mike, your turn.
As far as the belief, that was hard for me because, again, a history background. Sometimes you look at the world, you grow up looking at the world in a sense of events and things that take place, and you're not always cognizant of how God moves. And Vikisha we talked about that, sort of kind of shaking off this narrative, this monologue that's running in your head. And that's really hard. That's really challenging. And Vikisha was like walking me through the Bible in a way that no one had really walked me through it. And here I am. I'm smart. I know sources. I know how I got this. Like, I don't want to, how is she going to tell me? I've heard about the Bible. I took a religious course in school. Ain't nothing new. But then kind of walking through the fact of the Jews and the Gentiles and understanding, having a better thought process about history and how the Bible is saying this is not new. Strife and trauma and angst and anxiety and all these, this is just a human condition. And he is the way out of the confusion of you trying to think about all of this. And that's why I tell you, Vikisha, about the book of Job and why it means so much to me. Because here is this man who's like, I can do this. I think I could try to work my way through this on my own. And he's like, oh, word, this whole existence, like, there are animals in the sea that you can't even fathom. And I'm controlling this. And there's stars and there's planets, there's galaxies. This is all me. And that's not, it's like, wow, let me sit myself down and be quiet and be humble and just appreciate that there are things that are going through me that I need to be more aware of and how I'm being utilized. So that helped me with the belief. And then it was about, how do I purposefully move into that? And I remember it's like a 5.5 block walk to my job that I used to have. And I would listen to, I was going through the Bible in 1 year plans and really just familiarizing myself. And I've done this for about 2 years, pretty consistently, of listening to the word on a regular basis and just really asking, like, apply it to my life. Help me find the words if I have to do some public speaking or something like that. And just leaning on something other than my own self. I also found out I had ADHD. And it was like, so there's all these different things about organizing. It's like, if I can just focus it start to prepare myself to find my own systems that work for me, I can start applying myself in a different way. And I started being a little bit more open about my challenges and struggles and fears. And when I took this position at the museum of a role that I was like, I don't think I can do this. And to hear other people say, you're crazy. Don't worry about the folks with the masters. Don't worry about the folks with the PhDs. They can't do what you do. You're skilled in a different way. And I could see the way other people were looking at me in a way that you can't look at yourself. And you realize that you do have a purpose and that there's more to your story than what you're telling yourself. So I really fell into that. And anytime I felt like I was backsliding or slipping, I would kind of have to readjust and take something away. And little by little, I was just taking things that would keep me out of the game. I started to take them away. It's been about 5-6 months. I quit Twitter, like
You quit
completely.
Twitter?
Oh yeah, I've
Oh,
completely.
y'all ain't know. Mike was the Twitter.
I mean,
thing.
and that was the thing. It was like I because I remember even Vikisha was telling me about, you should do this on social media, in this particular, like Instagram, do that. And I was at one point, before I felt like I was making it, chasing it. I was chasing not so much I was trying to curate, but I was trying to chase these influence. And you start to realize that ain't it. You got to find it for yourself and let the work take you to that point. I have more followers now on LinkedIn. I crossed over. It's like you get, and it's gotten to a point where it's just like people are falling into your life because the Lord has placed people in your life. And that's the thing I realized. One of the other challenges I had was my mom passed. I'm married to a beautiful woman who is white. And I thought I was losing my Blackness. And I really thought I was losing, to a degree, my connection to Black women. And I was like, wow, how am I going to, where am I going to be able to have these connections with women like my mother, who instilled so much into me? And Vikisha, I can't tell you how many people are in my life in different ways now. And being open, and I mean across the board. And what that has also done, it has helped me to tap into my humanity and a way to kind of slow things down. And when people, we had some challenges at the museum recently with this. We had a group that came to the museum that is fairly controversial. We call Moms for Liberty, and we don't agree with their platform, but we also were an event space, and people sign contracts. Life is complicated, and we weathered that. And one of the ways we weathered that was talking to people and finding context. People were, boycotting and upset, and LGBTQ community. It was a whole thing. But I kept telling people, we're humans. We have to be there for even those that we don't agree with. How do we get them under the umbrella? How do we get them under the tent? Gotta talk to them. Regardless if I don't agree with their agenda or not, but I have a job as an educator. I can't discriminate just because I don't like somebody. So you start talking to people and you realize this is the way through. You can't just tribalize and be in our own separate corners, and you find your voice. So that's been my sort of process, and believe, move, and grow, is being able to grow. Because I used to be a person who's like, I'm Black first. Well, it means a lot to me, but I'm human first, and that's really important. My relationship with God is what drives that, not just because that can also create problems when you're just tribal in that way. So yeah, just being diligent mentally in that space.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love how you said that we still have to get them under the umbrella. You understand? I think all too often we as Christians, we want to shun everybody that we don't have the same kind of agreement with. And it's like Jesus didn't agree with a whole bunch of folks, but he still sat with them and did what he needed to do. It's like he may not have stayed and stayed for months, but he sat with him. And, we all have faults and we all slip and we all have issues. And I love that, get folks under the umbrella, right? Because there's not one of us that sin hasn't visited, right? So Lamar, you over there, I know. How did you believe move? You say you're still in transition. We all are. But how are you believe move growing?
For me, I was taught to believe. So, it's putting me young, raised in a Christian family. So, you grew up saying Jesus. My dad and my mom, it's 16 of us. I'm the youngest out of 16. So every Sunday morning, my dad would have all of us come around the front room and we would have to get on our knees and pray for an hour. We did this for years, every Sunday morning. Every child that lived in that house had to get up and go in that front room and say a prayer. So you was taught early to believe. And, when I came of age, God visited me in places that the devil had me. And that's when I began to know God for myself. I believed in Jesus. I believed in God, had faith, but until you experience it, to it visit you, then like you said, believe. Now you're moved, I should say. God touched you and he moves you. He moves you in a direction where he turns you, on the right path. And at that time in my life, a young man, I was in the streets for a while. And that's where God visited me at. That's what kind of brought me back to the altar, brought me to the altar, and ever since then, I've been growing towards my purpose and praying, having a relationship with God and Jesus, and allowing the Holy Spirit to move within me since I was a young man in the streets. But I've always, believed in Jesus. I always believed in Christ. Everybody don't have that same story because I came up in a Christian family. So it was putting me young. And I thank God for my parents because I had the opportunity to have that. I was introduced to Christ through my parents, not the preacher, not church. My parents believed in God. My parents believed in Jesus Christ, and they showed it. My parents are older. I lost my father a couple of years back. My mom's 87. Like I said, I'm the youngest out of 16. So having a Christian family, this was something that, that's what it was. So, for some people didn't have that, but I came up knowing that there was a Jesus. I came up knowing that you believe in God. I came up knowing about the Holy Spirit. I came up in the Christian-based family. So I thank God for that. But like I said, when I was moved and I felt the Spirit. Again, I was in the streets. I was doing some things I shouldn't be doing. And that's when, I began to have a relationship, intimate relationship with God. That's why, I'm the type of person when it comes to faith, there's a situation in my life I know wasn't nothing but God that brought me out. The hand of God that brought me out of situations. And couldn't nobody do it. I could have definitely been dead and gone several times being out there in the street. And God would deliver me many times. I've never been in handcuffs. I don't have a record, but I was with every guy you can imagine. Some are no longer with us in those situations, in those places. And I thank God for showing me himself. That's why I took the initiative to start brand and start business, like Playful Art and Eden Art, representing the Garden of Eden. And of course, you see the shirt say Ugly Buddy, representing things in life that can be ugly, but these characters, they stick together, they're pieces, they're puzzles, and they put back, they come and put back things that, Satan takes from you. It's all spiritual to me. All of these things I came up throughout my life was from God, because of what I experienced. And like I said earlier when I was talking, I'm like, we all got expiration date, and you know, time is of the essence that we continue to pray and continue to walk in our calling and never ever give in, never fold, never quit. You got to know that God has called you from the day one, because there's so many people not here, and so many people need the gift that uh, you guys have, and you can't be selfish. It has to be something that you wake up and become. You have to become that, because this is the thing. I learned to become the best, because at the end of the day, you know, everybody situation is different, and everybody received Jesus different. Everybody uh hand of life, the cards they've been dealt is different. And I had both worlds. I came from spiritual, I came from Bible, but then I sat in alleys and I sat on crates with people that didn't have it. And it gave me a different view of life, because here I know the power of prayer, but I got a buddy saying, hey, I don't care if I die. I'm going to hell because of what I'm doing and what I've been around and what I've been through. And now you're trying to weigh it. You're like, well, God, man, he's my age. Why he got to go to hell? And I'm doing what he's doing. But I still believe that I'm saved by your grace, and that there's opportunity for me to enter in your kingdom. And I became a minister sitting on a crate. You know what I mean? Like, because it's the thing. When you're 18, 19, 20, you just left church Sunday, you out there on Monday, and you done heard the word, no serious stuff, man. And then you hustling, your boys like, man, this and that. You like, well, I just had a good message. And you telling them, because that's all you got. This before Instagram, this before Facebook, when the gentlemen Twitter, we didn't have. So this is all we got. This is how we lifting each other up, because I just felt like, guys, no way in the world that Bobby is going to hell. Bobby he had some cards handed to him, and he had a choice, but this is his environment. Now I had some cards handed to me, but I'm out here with him. But now I go home to a meal and praying parents and blessed oil and prayer. I mean, the whole 9 yards, and but I'm out here, and I feel your warmness. I feel your grace. I feel your mercy. Why he can't feel it? So what I would do, it's 2 a.m, say, hey, Bobby, man, listen, I know you feel like you're going to hell, but God loves you, bro. Like what we doing right now, I get it, but I'm telling you, you just pray long enough, seek God long enough. And this is where it started from. But again, I was talking to myself, because I was in a place too where I was confused, because I just didn't believe he loved me more than him. His hand was dealt. Her hand was dealt. These people went through it all. These young people, I was a young man. And I'm just saying I was just put in a better situation, but God, you're God. You love us all. So I'm not going to sit here and accept that because what we're doing right now, tomorrow, we can't be doing something different. And I thank God for that grace and mercy and that mentality, because now at my age now, that is why I've started all these different organizations and brands, to be able to tell those same kids when I was a kid that no, there's more for you. There's a better way than what you're doing. I think everybody ministry different, because they clearly didn't know Jesus. They clearly didn't know religion. They clearly didn't know Bible or scripture, but they knew right from wrong. And I've learned that the world always show you a way. You know what I mean? I don't care what it is. They show you a way. Christians, I'm going to say this, we talk, but we don't show you a way.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And I think if we're going to be Christians, let's show them a way. Let's not only say God loves you, but show them how God loved them. Show them how God can be there for them. Show them how God can transition them. Show them how God can keep them. God will give us the right words and tools to say, you know what I mean? The devil can offer you anything, man. He can offer you anything. But when we realize and can articulate how Jesus said, I can offer you, everlasting life.
Mm.
There's nothing the devil can offer you now. You know what I mean?
That's it.
You get what I'm saying?
That's
Because
it.
that everlasting life, he never can offer you that.
Mm-hmm.
Only Jesus could do that.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I can offer you gold. I can offer you the world, but you said everlasting life. You know what I mean? Those are the things that touch me. But for these young people, they need to hear that because they're getting offered things that's going to take their soul and it's expired. That everlasting life ain't no date on it. You get what I'm saying? So again, that's kind of just how, Miss B, she'll tell you that's how I came a person of faith, a person of trusting in God, because I feel like when you could have been dead and gone and you're still here, then ain't nothing but the grace of God. Ain't nothing but the grace of God. Can't no pastor tell you that. Can't nobody can tell you that now because you experienced it. Ain't nothing like God touching you. It ain't nothing like him touching you on that shoulder. Once God touch you on that shoulder, can't nobody now, it doesn't matter what happens. Even though you may get in your feelings, you may get down, you may go through some things, but boy, when you wake up in the morning, you're gonna be like, nah. I've been here before. That subconscious is powerful. That spirit gonna remind you. God touched you, man, and got you off that floor, got you out the streets, got you out that hospital bed, and got you off the drugs, got you off the alcohol, got you out that relationship, got you out of all those things that you thought was gonna take you away, kill you, got you out of that depression, that suicidal. Listen, you gotta keep that mentality every time. That becomes your friend. You know what I'm saying? That becomes your friend. Like, I don't know about y'all, but that thing that didn't let me die, I ain't never had nobody jumping from a bullet besides Jesus. That's what I'm saying. No, seriously. He was the only one jumped in front of the bullet, jumped in front of the cops. He was the one that jumped in front of that time I could have had. So I'm never gonna fall out with him, ever. I'm never falling out with him. So that's why I got the faith I have, because I'm loyal to that, because he was loyal to me first, but he was loyal to me. He showed me his loyalty. He showed me, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of my story, man. I just feel like, no matter what you go through, you just got to remind yourself that you wouldn't be here. You would have never made it if it wasn't for God, it wasn't for Jesus. And you got to think about those times that nobody else could pull you out of that, and only God could. And once you do that, you'll wake up and fight again. And I just feel like this: if you're gonna get up, fight anyway. I just never been the kind of person to lay down and take a whooping. If you're gonna get up, fight. That's how I feel. That's how I see life. You're gonna get up, fight.
That's the
It's
growth
only 24
aspect.
hours in a day, huh?
That's the growth aspect. If you want to get up, fight. I know that's right.
Get up, fight. You're not, just stay in the house, shut the blinds, and don't call me. You know what I mean?
Put on the hoodie.
Hey,
I know that's right.
It's like that home, when you was in high school, man. I mean, y'all probably go through this, but you call that one friend, they picking on you at the bus stop. So you go get your homegirl, your homeboy, and you say, hey, man, listen, they keep giving me a hard time, man. I'm gonna stand up tomorrow. So you get your best friend. You expect your best friend to show up and fight. You expect your friend. You got that one friend without a shadow of a doubt. Boy, we get off this bus, are we out the third period? It's on. You don't have to worry about that best friend. That's how I see Jesus, man.
I
I
know
ain't got
that's
a lot
right.
of people, you know what I mean? I got a lot of people around me. I don't think they're gonna show it. They'll talk about it. They got my back, but they way back there, man. They down the street. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really fool with people a lot because I know those kind of people. But one thing I know about Jesus, no matter where I was, he showed me he had my back. So I'm loyal to that. Now I fall off and I go through, but nobody can't tell me nothing different when it comes to Jesus. Can't tell me nothing different when it comes to this Holy Spirit, because they wasn't there when I was in those dark hallways. So I know what was there. So that's how I see every day. God, you was there then, and you're going to be here now. I may not can feel you, but if something jump off, I know you're going to be that friend coming around the corner and got my back. So that's how I see him, as a best friend, a homeboy. I see him in so many things because that's how it was for me growing up. That's how it is as a grown man with a family. And I always just felt like God got my back no matter what. And, can't nobody tell me. It's a personal relationship for me. It's personal. You know what I'm saying? It's personal.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. I don't know about nobody else, but Jesus is personal to me. Yeah. And like Lamar said, and until you've been out, till you've been down, till you've been on the side of the road, till you've been in the hoodie, till you've been in a place and space that you never thought you'd get out of, that's what changed it. So Wynn, coming on in here, how'd you believe, move, and grow?
How do I follow up after that? What the heck? Anyways, here we go. Well, all right, dang it. Listen, okay, he's on fire. He's drinking something really good, or maybe both. Maybe both. Okay, so let me take like 2 steps back. So in the belief. So my belief was actually like a very small crack, but listen, Jesus be doing the most with the littlest, right? The mustard seed of faith, he be doing the most. And again, this is 2019, right? But I had been a believer. Maybe again, Jesus, definitely touched my life in a really dark time, like 7 years prior to that. But I'm not disagreeing, but sometimes maybe we forget, or the devil's going to tell you something a little bit differently. And I mentioned I was dealing with some really just tough times. I felt there was such a loss in job, a loss in friends, a loss in identity, a loss in what I wanted, just lost. And you get, at least me, you hear Jesus comes back, he'll leave the 99, he'll come for you. And it's yeah, but that's for everybody else, not for me, right? And so the belief was, again, just such a loss that could there just possibly be just something different? Again, I had information. I knew all of the stuff. I wouldn't say I'm as technical as Lorin, but I like things that just make sense. And so if these are the things and this is all laid out in front of me, I just didn't know what to do with. So the belief was just possibly there could be something that makes sense of this. Here's this hurt and pain, and it is real, and I recognize it, and I see why I am the way that I am, but it didn't necessarily, there was nothing else to do that. It's maybe it's reading history and well, how does that apply to me now? Right? This is the past. I'm literally dealing with past things that have definitely affected my life, but what do I do with it now? How do I move forward? And again, it was definitely a collaborative effort, but it was just really very small that something could be different from this scenario of just dealing with hurt, pain, feeling lost, something different. I even remember too, so I did have coaching with Coach Fee, and I'm going to get it wrong, but you do this little intro thing where you rate yourself. And I remember there's several areas. She's laughing because maybe she's thinking of something. My thing was probably
I know
a mess.
exactly what you're talking about.
But one of them was one of them is what, rate yourself in community. I think I put myself as a 0. I don't need that. I'm good. Because in the loss, even with Jesus himself, it's just me out here. Because he's not coming back for me, right? It's just me. And again, it's a mentality. It's just a mentality that I've just had, right? I got to figure this out. So, and that's maybe even that belief, some of it was just could it just possibly be something different? So again, in a very lost, but with some information. But the community piece is I don't need community right now. I'm good. It's just me out here. And so the belief, again, very small. So if someone goes to watch this and the things are not checking all the boxes for yeah, I'm ready to believe in this right now. It doesn't really take that much. It's really it was really well, I've definitely wasted my time on other things. I've definitely wasted my money on other things. I think I'll just give it a shot and we'll just see where this goes. Right. So The belief was very small, unfortunately.
Hey, it matters. Listen, this is for every audience member out there.
Yeah. And again, and like you forget, but I was just in my head, per usual at the time. Key point there. And then the move was just it's definitely continual, but just to be out of that space. So not to get like too crazy here, but like some of those voices were really loud, and while I could recognize them, they were still really loud. And it's not like kind of like depression. It's not like you just turn like, oh, I'm just not depressed anymore. But like how to work through it. Some of the again, those tools in the tool, but like questioning things. And I don't mean like question everything, but like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I doing that? Why does this bother me? What does this relate to? Like even just some very basic things. Again, the tools were the move for me to be able to apply some of the things that I learned in coaching. And Coach V will tell you right now, sometimes when we're talking, I'll be like, you know what my coach would tell me right now? And I'm like coaching her. Okay. So that's the flip the script.
She does.
I'll flip the script. But a lot of it is just like working through the, like, just because Coach V will tell you this all the time, just because you think it doesn't mean it's true. Right. Again, like just so, oh, I'm not the sheep out there and Jesus not, like, where did that come from? Because the Bible actually says it. And if I want to go back and I believe that it's true, I believe that the Bible is true, then why would I even be questioning that I'm not that lost sheep that will be found? Why do I not believe these things for myself? If I believe that it's true, because I believe the Bible is true, right? So like start again, like question the things that you're feeling, question the spaces that you're in. How did you get here? And again, not everything is sunshine. Again, not everything is sunshine and rainbows in the move, right? Like there have been times that I have fallen back into like, I kind of feeling lost again, Lord. How did I get here? I mean, even just recently, I shared with Coach V at the beginning of the year, I'm starting to feel very lost again. And having the tools, not that it, like, I would say instead of a, several years, half my life, whatever period, it was a very short, not just short. And it wasn't like God's like, yeah, we're just going to fast forward through this, but I was able to sit in it and be like, okay, like there are tears pouring in my eyes. The depression was really like set in, but I was able to like work through it and know like, it's like there is an end. It's not the end. This is a part of the process. So it's not like, again, it's not like the you're lost when you're really lost. I felt lost, but I knew I wasn't lost. Like there's a difference in that, like feeling something but knowing, right? Because again, the voices, they're still there. They sound a little different. They say the same thing, but right, like, oh, okay, it's just you being crazy. Like, it's just the voices just being whatever. Again, trying to like bring me down. The growth piece is that it just continues. It only gets better, right? We know how the story ends.
Exactly.
So again, the depression, sorry if anyone's listening to anything, but and you know what, actually sometimes Jesus does take depression away. It's just, that's not my story. Again, I felt lost. I was not actually lost. And that I want to, I never want to feel like that again, preferably. Like that space again. I would love for depression to go away. Lord Jesus, if you want to take that away right now, I would love that. But you know what? Also, if not, I'm just gonna walk in it. I'm gonna sit in it a little bit. And if anything, again, doing the most, uses literally everything. I've shared this with Coach V, shared this with Lorin, like the last, like first of the year. Like I said, I sat in a pew again, just crying, not the normal Wynn. I need I like lists and I can check it off, and I like doing things, and I did nothing for 3 months. My husband was baptized. I've prayed with my kids. I've done things that I'm like, oh, this, normal. Like if I were to push it back, right, early 2019, this would be devastating. You're just sitting there crying, ew. Right? And like my church loved on me. They still love on me, right? Like it's not like this moment in time that defined everything. I never got out of it. I would say even that's even like a piece too, that I like, even to believe, like, I just didn't want this to be the story. And you can change it if you want to. And it just starts with a few questions of just asking yourself, and then you work through the process. So that's my belief. Like, yeah, I'm still believing, I'm still moving, I'm still growing. But it's, again, having the tools are just have what made it so important. And again, and I don't know. I don't know what I was gonna say, but like the relationship with it's just has grown. Again, just to question those the things that you think in your head. They're borderline utter. No, they are utterly ridiculous. And I know what God says, because I have a book. I have actually several versions of books that I can read and find out all kinds of stuff if I really want to know. So yeah,
That's it.
it. That's it.
Well, listen, I think Lamar said it when he was like, he's in a stage right now where he's sitting with it. And, you had the same thing at the beginning of this year when you sat with it. And what we don't realize is sometimes in our sitting, God is not sometimes, all the time in our sitting, God is working around us. Wynn sitting on a pew crying, ball hauling, boo-hooing. But I remember when I started coaching, her husband was like, Jesus sounds great. You know what I mean? Sounds awesome. And here we are, fast forward 2023, and her husband's baptized, and she's sitting in church with her husband. So there's times where you got to sit in it, and it might feel like ain't nothing happening around there. But it is, right? One of the things that I always say in my coaching is slow is not the same thing as stop. There's still movement in going slow, right? So sometimes if you're going slow, that doesn't mean that nothing's happening. It just means that you can't see the nothing happening, right? But it's still happening. It's still happening. And, that's the thing about the whole system. It's cyclical. Believe, move, grow. What are you believing in? What are you believing for? Who are you believing in? What are you believing for? What steps are you taking? What practical things are you putting in place? And how are you growing through that? And who are you bringing along so they can believe, move, and grow? And then it goes to the next one in the world, and the next one into the world, and the next one into the world. So, I just want to thank y'all for your transition stories, for sharing these things with me and for the public. You know what I mean? I think you all shared a deep part of you. And there, who's to say, well, I can go through a transition and I can just sit in deep depression and not know where I'm going to be working or what's my next step, or, what, forget about that whole faith thing. It's on the shelf. I'll be back with it later. Or I'm a Black man with mental health challenges that really strike me and they hurt and they're hard, or I'm dealing with, perhaps some substances or some life challenges that I've had. So hopefully throughout those that are hearing these stories will be able to say, you know what, that's me. And I can transition too, and I can still believe, move, grow, and I can still make a difference in my life. I went to a small church summit some years back, and small church ministries, and Laurie Acker Graham, I think is her name. And I'm going to give credit to her here. She did a whole thing on doing it for the one. So I hope that you all know that sometimes you got to step out there, sometimes you got to walk out, and sometimes you just have to do it for the one. So if this platform doesn't go any further than the, 6 of us on the screen, hopefully someone took something from it that they can use in their life and that they can continue with and that they can go strong with, right? So I can't begin to tell you how much I am grateful and thankful for each of you sharing in this space. For those that are listening, if you're looking for a good coach, that would be me. I will be Coach V. I will be sure to put all the information in the comments and in the chat so that you know how to reach out. If you need an excellent marketer, please, please, please reach out to Tulsa Marketing, and she does a fantastic job. If you're looking on a plane one day, you're looking for Miss Lorin Ponton, she's going to be able to fly you across the world in the very, very, very near future. And also, Mike, if you want some history, this man has been spitting history game for some years, and it's just like second nature to him. And the illustrious Willie Lamar Williams, if you like some Christian fashion, if you'd like to be a buddy to Ugly Buddy, please go onto his Instagram. I'll be sure to drop everybody's information so that everybody has a way to kind of connect. If you're looking for some BGM with some Black girl magic for this Lorin Ponton and flying a plane under 35 years of age, all these young folks doing big things, and just stand by, y'all, because what I'm going to do is there's a lot of Christian businesses that I know, and I'm going to be doing something like this was like, tell us about your Christian business so that we can start really standing up in this space, y'all, because it's great that we all own businesses, but it's something different when there's a Christian practice being applied in business that makes someone say, you know what, that's who I want to do business with. So stay tuned for that next. I love each and every one of you. I thank you so, so much for bearing your soul. And always remember, y'all, to believe, move, and grow. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.